year ago, just a year ago, most Americans understood that social distancing was a form of punishment. It's not good for man to be alone. That was one of the very first observations in the book that forms the basis of Western civilization. And we've lived accordingly. Apart from the death penalty, the harshest things we do to criminals in this country include separating them from other people. Prisoners have chosen lethal injection over solitary confinement. That's how badly human beings need to be close to one another. So when they told us to stay far apart from each other last spring in the name of public health, it was an enormous sacrifice, whether or not we understood it at the time. But because this was a trusting and law-abiding country, we obeyed that order. We barely grumbled about it. We assumed they knew best. 6 feet from each other. That was social distancing. It was the law, and most of us followed that law. But where did that law come from? Who did the scientific research that determined 6 feet was the safest distance apart from other people that you could be? Somebody should have asked that question last spring, but as far as we know, nobody did ask it. It turns out the research that formed the basis of that law came from a German hygienicist called Karl Pflug. It was Pflug who decided that 6-foot separations were necessary to slow the spread of pathogens. The CDC went with Pflug's judgment. What the CDC didn't tell us was that Karl Pflug had been dead for 100 years. His research on social distancing was published in the 19th century, before most Americans had electricity or indoor plumbing. So why is that research still guiding public health policy in this country in 2021? It's a good question. Experts don't seem to have a good answer. Last year, one of the top aerosol scientists in Australia, a woman called Lydia Maraska, likened social distancing regulations to a cult ritual. Quote, "The dogma was born. Like any dogma, it's extremely difficult to change people's minds and change the dogmas." So dogma posing as science. It was all just faith-based. And it had massive consequences. Millions of American school children have not been educated for a year because the CDC turned century-old German theories about tuberculosis into a kind of modern state-enforced religious faith. Think about that. It's enough to make you feel sick. Yes, our authorities are just that mediocre. But the most infuriating part of it all is not that they were wrong, but that they won't admit they were wrong and apologize for it.